Let me ask you a question, my friend. Have you ever noticed how sometimes it's not the big, obvious things that affect our health, but the small, quiet ones we least suspect? A man can spend decades working hard, eating what he thinks is healthy, even following advice from the past that seemed harmless, only to discover much later that a tiny, everyday habit is quietly undoing his strength as a man. That's the reason we need to talk about today's subject, because the problem isn't always what you think it is. In fact, there's one tiny spice, something that seems so harmless, that has been silently chipping away at the very thing that defines your manhood, your ability to perform. This is the heart of today's discussion, and it's why I titled this video, Men 60 Plus, This Tiny Spice is Silently Killing Your Erection. Avoid tonight. I want to start by sharing a story, because stories help us connect the dots in a way that facts alone cannot. Just a few months ago, a gentleman named Robert came to see me. He was 67 years old, a retired teacher, and one of the kindest souls you'll ever meet. But he sat in my office with his head down, his voice low, as if he was confessing a secret he'd held for years. He said, "Doc, I don't feel like myself anymore. My wife and I, we still love each other deeply, but I can't rise to the occasion like I used to. And it's not just about intimacy. I feel weaker, less confident, and it bothers me more than I can put into words." When I asked him about his lifestyle, he listed off what you'd expect. He exercised moderately, he didn't drink much, he didn't smoke. But then he told me proudly about his daily diet, particularly one spice he'd been using almost every day for decades, a spice he believed was healthy. And yet, as I dug deeper, I realized this tiny spice was actually one of the hidden culprits undermining his circulation, damaging his hormones, and slowly eroding his erections. Now, before I go any further, let me introduce myself properly. My name is Dr. Nolan Easton, and I've been working in men's health for over 30 years. I've had the privilege of guiding thousands of men through the confusing maze of aging, hormones, energy, and performance. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's this: the little choices you make every day often have the biggest impact on how you feel as a man after 60. My mission isn't just to scare you about what's wrong. It's to empower you with knowledge so you can take back control and live fully, without silent enemies stealing your vitality. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack today. Because Robert's story isn't unique. Many men are unknowingly sabotaging their own strength by trusting old habits and advice, believing something is good for them, when in fact, it's not. This is why I always tell my patients, don't confuse tradition with truth. Just because a spice has been in your kitchen forever doesn't mean it's doing your body any favors. Especially when it comes to blood flow and the delicate balance of male hormones. Now, I don't want to overwhelm you with technical language. Think of it this way. Your erections are like the lights in your home. For the lights to work, you need proper wiring, clear pathways for the electricity, and a strong power source. In your body, that power source is blood flow and testosterone. When something interferes with the smooth flow of blood or with your body's ability to maintain strong hormone levels, the lights begin to flicker. Over time, if the interference continues, the lights go out. And what's worse, you often don't realize the problem is building until it's already disrupting your life. That's what was happening to Robert. Every day, he sprinkled this spice into his meals, believing it was giving him health benefits. But instead, it was interfering with his body's natural balance. The spice was quietly working against him, affecting his circulation and hormone function, the two pillars of male vitality. Once I helped him see that connection and guided him toward healthier alternatives, the change was remarkable. Within a few months, he not only reported stronger erections, but he felt younger, more confident, and more alive. His wife even came to see me to say thank you because the difference was so noticeable in their marriage. And I want that for you too, because I know how important this is. Not just for your body, but for your dignity, your confidence, and your relationships. That's why I'm urging you to pay attention to the small things. Don't shrug them off as no big deal. When it comes to men's health after 60, the little details often separate those who stay strong and confident from those who slowly fade without realizing why. This is why it's always so critical to shine a light on hidden dangers like this, not to scare you, but to empower you. Because once you see the truth, you can take action. And the sooner you act, the sooner you begin to feel the difference in your life. So I want you to imagine for a moment what it would mean if, like Robert, you could make a simple change in your daily routine and start feeling like yourself again. Imagine the confidence of knowing your body is working with you, not against you. Imagine the smile on your partner's face when intimacy feels natural and fulfilling again. That's what this is about. Not just health for the sake of health, but the joy of living fully, even after 60. And as we continue, I'll share more about what this spice does to your body, how it disrupts your natural balance, and what you can do instead to protect your vitality. Because once you understand it, you'll never look at your spice cabinet the same way again. And that small shift could be the key to turning the lights back on in your life. When Robert and I continued our conversation, he leaned forward and asked me something that I'll never forget. He said, "Doc, are you telling me that something as tiny as a sprinkle of spice could really do this much damage?" And I looked him in the eye and said, "Yes, Robert. That's exactly what I'm telling you. Because the body is built on balance. And when even a small thing tilts that balance, the effects can ripple through every part of your health. You see, as men age, our systems become more sensitive. When you were 30, your body had more resilience. It could bounce back from poor choices more easily. But after 60, the margin for error shrinks. Your blood vessels, your hormone levels, your overall metabolism, they're not as forgiving as they once were. So when you consume something regularly, even in tiny amounts, it can quietly interfere with the very systems that keep you feeling strong, confident, and alive as a man. The spice Robert had been using is common. Many households have it in their kitchen right now, and it's often recommended for flavor or even for supposed health benefits. But here's the reality. It contains compounds that can constrict blood vessels, throw off your hormone balance, and over time, drain the strength of your erections. It doesn't happen in one day, or even in 1 month. It happens gradually, so slowly that most men don't even notice until it's already affected their confidence and intimacy. Let me explain this in plain language. Erections are a direct reflection of circulation. They rely on healthy, flexible blood vessels that can carry blood quickly and efficiently to the right place. But if those blood vessels are inflamed, narrowed, or stiffened, blood flow becomes sluggish. It's like trying to water your garden with a hose that's pinched or clogged. The pressure weakens, and the results are disappointing. That's exactly what happens inside the body when this spice is consumed regularly. It adds just enough stress to the circulatory system to make things harder than they need to be. And there's another layer. This spice can also interact with hormone function. For men over 60, testosterone levels are already more vulnerable. You don't need anything tipping that scale further in the wrong direction. Yet that's exactly what was happening to Robert. Every time he sprinkled that spice into his soup or on his eggs, he was unknowingly telling his body to slow down, weaken circulation, and edge hormone balance in the wrong direction. Now, when I explained this to him, Robert looked almost angry, not at me, but at the fact that nobody had ever told him this before. He said, "Why don't doctors talk about this? Why did I have to wait until now to find out?" And I understood his frustration. The truth is, most doctors are trained to look for big diseases, not the subtle everyday habits that drain vitality over decades. That's why I've made it my life's work to bridge that gap, to connect the science with real life, and to give men like Robert and you the knowledge to protect what matters most. And let me tell you, once Robert stopped using that spice and swapped it for safer, circulation-friendly alternatives, the change was striking. Within weeks, his energy improved. Within a couple of months, he began reporting firmer erections. But what struck me most wasn't just the physical improvement, it was the way his confidence returned. He carried himself differently. His shoulders were straighter, his laugh came easier, and his wife told me she hadn't seen him smile like that in years. That's the real gift of this knowledge, not just restoring physical performance, but restoring the spark that makes life feel joyful again. Now, I want you to pause for a moment and reflect on this. Could it be that something in your own kitchen, something you've been told is harmless or even healthy, is quietly working against you? Could it be that you've been unknowingly sabotaging your own vitality? If you've ever wondered why your energy isn't what it used to be, or why your erections aren't as strong or dependable as before, the answer might be smaller and closer than you think. This is why I'm so passionate about sharing these truths with you. Because I don't want you to go another year, another month, or even another week feeling like you're less of yourself. You deserve to know what's hurting you so you can make changes that truly help. And those changes don't have to be complicated. Often it's just about removing what's harmful and replacing it with something supportive. So let me ask you something important. If you've ever felt like Robert, if you've ever wondered whether your daily habits might be chipping away at your strength as a man, I want you to let me know in the comments. Just write a simple yes or no. Yes if you think this could apply to you, or no if you don't. I review those answers because they help me shape future videos around what men like you are actually experiencing. And if this message is hitting home right now, please take a second to like this video and subscribe if you haven't yet. Tap the bell too so you'll always know when a new piece of advice is ready for you. Your feedback keeps this community strong, and it allows me to keep giving back to men who deserve to live fully even after 60. Now back to Robert. Once he made that small adjustment, his story became a reminder to me of how powerful awareness can be. He came in believing he was broken, that aging had taken away something essential. But the truth was much simpler. He wasn't broken. He was just misled by tradition, by old habits, by the idea that if it's in the kitchen, it must be safe. Once he corrected that, life opened back up for him, and it can for you too. So as we continue this conversation, I want you to remember this. What feels small can make the biggest difference. Don't underestimate the power of these everyday choices. They can either drain your vitality or restore it. And that's why understanding what's happening inside your own body and your own kitchen is one of the most empowering steps you can take toward reclaiming your confidence and performance. Because when you strip away the hidden enemies and replace them with true allies, you give your body the chance to thrive again. You give yourself the gift of waking up with energy, of facing the day with confidence, and of enjoying intimacy without fear or disappointment. And if Robert could experience that transformation in his late 60s, there's no reason you can't too.
When Robert returned for his follow-up visit, I could see the change before he even spoke. He walked into my office with a lighter step, his face brighter, and a quiet confidence that hadn't been there the first time. He said, "Doc, I can't believe how different I feel. I didn't realize how much that little thing was holding me back." That moment reminded me of why I do this work, because too many men over 60 are living with silent obstacles that rob them of joy, connection, and strength without them even knowing it. What Robert experienced is something I've seen countless times. When men make small but meaningful changes, the results ripple through every area of their lives. It's not just about stronger erections, though that's certainly important. It's about feeling whole again, like the man you remember being. When your circulation improves, your energy lifts. When your hormones rebalance, your mood steadies. And when intimacy returns, so does your sense of confidence and closeness with your partner. Now, you might be wondering how something so ordinary as a spice could do so much harm. Think about it this way. Your body is like a finely tuned orchestra. Every instrument, your blood flow, your hormones, your nerves, has to play in harmony to create the music of vitality. If one instrument goes out of tune, the whole piece suffers. The spice in question was like a constant, quiet drum beating off key in Robert's system. At first, it didn't seem like much, but over time, it threw the whole orchestra out of balance. And here's the truth that I share with every man who comes to see me. Your body wants to heal. It wants to find balance again. The moment you stop feeding it what harms it and start giving it what helps it, it begins to restore itself. That's why Robert's turnaround happened faster than he ever expected. Once he removed that hidden enemy from his diet, his body responded with gratitude. His circulation improved, his energy lifted, and his confidence grew. This is why I stress to men over 60 that awareness is your greatest tool. You don't have to overhaul your entire life to see results. You don't need to spend thousands of dollars on miracle cures or strange supplements. What you need is clarity, knowing which everyday habits are hurting you and which ones are helping you. When you get that right, everything else begins to fall into place. I remember Robert telling me how his wife reacted. He said, "Doc, she thought I was hiding something because suddenly I had more energy, I was smiling more, and I was, well, showing up in the bedroom again." They both laughed about it, but beneath the humor was something serious. Intimacy had returned to their marriage. And if you've ever felt that drift in your relationship, you know how painful it can be. Fixing that isn't just about the physical act, it's about restoring connection, laughter, closeness, and a sense of being fully alive together. I share this with you because I don't want you to underestimate what's possible. So many men sit quietly with their struggles, convinced it's just part of aging. They think it's too late to change, too late to feel good again. But I've seen, time and time again, that it's never too late. Your body is capable of more healing and restoration than you've been led to believe. And sometimes all it takes is removing one tiny harmful thing that you've been carrying for far too long. Now, I'd like to ask you a favor. If this story is striking a chord with you, if you've ever felt frustrated by the quiet decline in your vitality, let me know in the comments with a yes or no. Do you feel like there might be something small in your daily habits that's been holding you back? I read those answers carefully, and they help me make these conversations more meaningful for men like you. And while you're here, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and tap the bell so you won't miss when I share the practical steps you can take to protect your health and performance. This isn't just information, it's guidance, meant to help you live stronger, longer, and happier. Now, let's go back to the heart of the matter. Why is this so important? Because your vitality isn't just a medical issue. It's tied to your identity, your relationships, and your joy. When men lose their ability to perform, it doesn't just affect the bedroom. It affects confidence, decision-making, even the way they carry themselves in public. I've had patients tell me they stopped going out with friends, stopped pursuing hobbies, even lost interest in travel, all because they felt drained, disconnected, and less of a man. That's how deep this goes. And the reverse is true as well. When men restore this part of their lives, everything else brightens. Energy returns for the activities they love, relationships grow warmer and more connected, the little spark of humor and optimism that might have faded over the years comes back. That's why I always say this isn't about vanity, it's about vitality. It's about giving yourself permission to live fully again. Robert's journey is proof of that. He didn't just reclaim his erections, he reclaimed his life. And that's what I want for you. Not because aging is something to fear, but because aging is something to embrace with the right knowledge and choices. You've worked too hard, lived too long, and loved too deeply to let a tiny hidden enemy rob you of your joy. So remember this, the little things matter. They can make the difference between decline and renewal. And if Robert could turn things around in his late 60s, then so can you. The key is simply to know what's holding you back and to have the courage to let it go.
When Robert sat across from me during his final follow-up, he didn't just look healthier, he looked happier. He said, "Doc, I feel like I've gotten a second chance." His energy was back, his confidence restored, and his marriage was thriving again. But more than that, he no longer carried the quiet shame he had walked in with months earlier. And that's what struck me most, how much of the struggle isn't just physical, but emotional. For men over 60, losing erections often feels like losing a piece of identity. But when that is restored, so too is the sense of being whole again. This is why I feel so strongly about today's message, because the truth is, many of you watching are in the same position Robert was in. You've been living with habits you thought were harmless, like sprinkling that tiny spice on your food every day, when in reality, it's been slowly draining your strength as a man. And maybe, like Robert, you've blamed yourself. Maybe you thought this is just part of getting older, but it doesn't have to be. I want you to hear this clearly. You are not broken. You are not beyond help. What's been happening to you isn't the inevitable march of age. It's the result of small hidden factors quietly pulling you down. And once you shine a light on them, you can take back control. You can restore circulation, rebalance hormones, and reclaim intimacy. I've seen it happen too many times to ever believe it's too late. Think for a moment about what that would mean for your life. Waking up with energy you haven't felt in years. Sharing laughter and closeness with your partner again. Walking into a room with your head held high, knowing you're strong, vital, and fully alive. That's what this knowledge can unlock. It's not just about avoiding a spice. It's about removing the obstacles that have been stealing your joy. Now, I know some of you may still feel skeptical. That's natural. Change can feel daunting, especially when you've been told over and over that decline is just part of getting older. But ask yourself, what do you have to lose by making a small adjustment? And what do you have to gain if it works for you the way it worked for Robert? I can tell you from experience, it's worth it, because the cost of doing nothing is far greater than the effort of making a small change today. Before we close, I want to remind you that this community is built on sharing and connection. If today's message spoke to you, please let me know in the comments with a simple yes or no. Do you feel like you've been unknowingly sabotaging your vitality? Your answers help me guide future conversations so I can give you the advice that truly matters. And while you're here, don't forget to like this video, subscribe if you haven't yet, and tap the bell so you never miss an update. It might seem small, but your engagement helps keep this channel alive so we can continue supporting men like you. I'll leave you with this thought. Aging is not the enemy. The real enemy is ignorance, living without knowing what's quietly harming you. Robert's story is proof that when you gain clarity, you gain power. He didn't just add years to his life, he added life to his years. And that's what I want for you. So tonight, when you look at the spices in your kitchen, I want you to pause. Ask yourself, is this helping me or is it holding me back? That small moment of awareness could be the turning point for you. Because once you start choosing differently, you open the door to strength, intimacy, and joy you may have thought was gone forever. Remember, you are not too old, it is not too late, and you are not alone. You have the power to reclaim your vitality one choice at a time. And I'll be right here walking that journey with you. This is Dr. Nolan Easton, and I want to thank you for spending this time with me. Take care of yourself, stay hopeful, and never forget, you deserve to live with energy, confidence, and love, no matter your age.